Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you, Jamie. And I want to thank the speaker for her extraordinary leadership. As you all know, she has been fighting the good fight as the speaker, as a historic speaker, and every day she's been there up until today. And I also want to, as a point of personal privilege, thank her for mentioning Steph Curry. As a daughter of Oakland, I particularly appreciate that among her many roles of leadership, to acknowledge him. Jamie, thank you again for your kind words and for your leadership as our party chair. The DNC is probably, for our administration, one of the many important partners that we have. And the support that you all give to the DNC is the support of partners with the agenda that we all care about. It is a special honor, therefore, to be with so many friends tonight, so many supporters, so many of you who have given so much over so many years, not without personal sacrifice, but always with a deep personal commitment to the issues that we care about as Democrats. So I want to thank you for that. You know, in the months leading up to the 2020 election, there were some who, you all remember, you weren't the ones, but there were some who thought the odds were against us. There were some who said it could not be done. But the people in this room, you did not doubt. You have always been fueled by optimism, knowing what is possible and what can be, unburdened by what has been. That's who you all are. And part of the reason we are here today is to remind you of how grateful we are for your endless ability to know what is possible and to work to achieve that. And you did the work then, as you continue to do. You put your time and resources toward a cause that is no less important than the soul of America. Because of your work, Democrats held on to the House of Representatives. Right. Because of your work, Democrats took back the United States Senate. And on Inauguration Day, among the many joys that I experienced, first of all, watching the president be sworn in, and then, of course, being sworn in myself, was getting to swear in Senators Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff. Indeed, it was a joyful day. And finally, friends, because of your hard work, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is now the residence of President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden. And I have thanked many of you directly, so has the second gentleman. And I wanted to say that gathered here in person, I feel very thankful for being around so many extraordinary supporters. In a minute, the president will talk about the progress that we have made over the past year. But before we welcome him, I want to touch on the work that is ahead, both for our party and for our country, and most importantly, for our country. As the historic laws that the president has signed are being implemented, they are transforming lives. You know, I met with a group of folks earlier today, and they said, what are you particularly proud of in terms of what you all have done over the course of this last year? And I have a long list, which I will not share with you at this moment, but I'll share with you one of those things. That we, because of the child tax credit, think about this for a moment, just really think about this. Because of the child tax credit, as of now, we have, as in past tense, lifted 40% of America's children out of poverty. Let's reflect on that. Let's reflect on what that means for generations. Talk about transformative. Talk about return on the investment. Extraordinary work has been happening. And again, because you all know, there's so many veterans of many elections here, you all know elections have consequence. Elections matter. And it's not about a victory celebration, not about a pat on the back. It's about then what can we achieve with the time that we have that directly impacts so many people that must be seen and must be heard and treated with dignity. So moving forward, we must ensure that the tangible impact of this work, of all this work, reaches every American. And we must never tire of talking about that impact, about every lead pipe that will be replaced, about every good union job that is created, about every EV, that's electric vehicle, charger that is installed, and again, every child tax credit check that is distributed. We must collectively restore trust in government. And one way, probably the most effective and meaningful way to do that, is to show the American people what their government has, yes, a responsibility to do, and an ability to do in delivering for them. And at the same time, we must show the American people what we as Democrats stand for. When I was out on the trail earlier this year with Terry McAuliffe, with Phil Murphy, with Gavin Newsom, I reminded voters about what these elections are about. The elections were about Texas. The elections were about Georgia. The elections were about attacks on workers' rights and women's rights and voting rights that are happening across our country. We must make it clear. Democrats stand for workers' rights. We stand for women's rights, and we believe that the right of a woman to make a decision about her own body is non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. Democrats stand for voting rights. And we are fighting, and we will continue to fight, to pass the Freedom to Vote Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. We stand for dreamers. We stand for farm workers. We stand for our LGBTQ plus brothers and sisters. We stand for people with disabilities. We stand for our children and the planet they will inherit. In short, as Nancy Pelosi said, as Democrats, we stand for the people. We stand for the people. And we will fight for the people. All the people. So as we look to 2022, we know that the stakes are as high as they've ever been. And you know, Nancy, our speaker said it, right? Every election we say this is the most important one. And it's because every election is. You know, many of you have heard me paraphrase the great Coretta Scott King, who said, you know, the fight for equality, the fight for justice, the fight for civil rights, well, it must be fought and won with each generation. And her admonition was based on the fact that whatever gains we make on any of these issues, they'll never be permanent. They just won't. It's the nature of it all. So knowing that is the nature of it, that we must be vigilant, that we can take nothing for granted, then let us, with each cycle of life and election, not tire, not be overwhelmed, but recommit ourselves to what we know we must do to uphold a democracy and uphold the rights of all people. So the mountain to climb, then, in 22, is as steep as it's ever been. But as you all did in 2020, we must not doubt. We cannot doubt. We just got to do the work. And that is why your support is so important. With your support, the DNC will be able to continue to build the infrastructure we need to protect our majorities. With your support, the DNC will be able to continue to think creatively and bring new supporters into our party. With your support, the DNC will also be able to expand our I Will Vote initiative and help ensure that voters everywhere, voters from every party, are able to cast their vote, because that's how we roll, and have it counted. So it's simple. Our democracy is stronger when everyone participates, and it's weaker when anyone is left out. And in conclusion, then, I will say again, thank you all for everything you have done and continue to do. And now, it is my great honor and pleasure to introduce two leaders who will never stop fighting for the people, President Joe Biden and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden.
Hello, everybody. Well, good evening. Thank you, Kamala, for that introduction and for your partnership. It is a partnership. And Doug has been a fantastic second gentleman, and also he's a first-rate lawyer. And Jill, the amazing first lady, I don't know how she does it. I can't keep up with her. She teaches, she does all the job as the first lady, and I also want to thank Nancy Pelosi, who's been a good, close friend for a long, long time. I think she may be the best speaker we've ever had. Congressman Jim Clyburn. Jim, are you here? I don't know whether Jim's here or not, but I tell you what, Tammy Duckworth, I'm told, was here. Incredible leaders in Congress. And we see so many friends as we close out the first year of office and head into a new year. I want to thank you all. I have to admit to you, I have one serious regret. And we talked about this, Jill and I, and so did we talk with the Vice President and the First Gentleman. I had hoped by now each one of you who have helped us get to where we are would have had full access to the White House. I mean that sincerely. We had all kinds of plans. We thought we were going to be in a position because of the change. We hoped that if people had moved on to getting all their vaccines, we would have been in a position to change the way in which this takes place. But next year and this year before it's over, in the White House. In the White House. It's a genuine regret. We haven't had a chance to personally thank so many of you who broke your neck for us. Broke your neck for us when things didn't look good at all. And folks, a little over a year ago, we were all part of the most consequential presidential election in American history. Not because we won, but it was the largest turnout in American history. 81 million people showed up to vote. 81 million. In the middle of a pandemic, 81 million people showed up. And it's because of all of you. Now, a year later, we have a lot to be proud of. We passed two historic pieces of legislation. The American Rescue Plan delivered immediate relief to millions of people and rescued the economy from the brink. We're growing faster than any other nation in the world in terms of our growth rate. Since its passage, we have a record number of jobs. We've created over 6 million jobs since January 20th. No new presidency ever created that many jobs as quickly. And we've seen the extraordinary drop in unemployment. It's at 4.2% nationally. And we're heading towards below 4% unemployment. And look, economic experts have predicted it would take another 2 years before we'd see a drop in unemployment rate at that level. And we've gone from just 2 million Americans vaccinated to over 203 million Americans vaccinated. 240 million with at least one shot. And it was probably the thing that I'm most proud of. We're on track, as was mentioned earlier, to end child poverty by 40%. Think about what that means. Think about what that means. No matter what they're, anyway, I don't want to get going and look, that's what the refundable tax credit. No, I really mean it, man. I told you all, I ran for one reason. not to do anything other than do what I thought was the right thing to do, come hell or high water. The refundable tax credit helped us accomplish that. And that's why we're fighting so hard to make sure the tax credit's extended. And after year one of Infrastructure Week, now, by the way, I tell you what, I don't know how many times do we hear Infrastructure Week, Infrastructure Week. Holy God, I couldn't stand another. But look, we passed the most important piece of infrastructure legislation that's ever been passed, or since at least the Eisenhower administration that built the interstate highway system. This legislation is going to rebuild our nation's roads, bridges, highways, ports, airports. It's going to remove lead pipes, as you heard before, all over America so our kids and families can drink clean water. It's going to make high-speed internet a reality in every part of the country. Never again are you going to have to sit out in front of a McDonald's in a parking lot to be able to tap into their internet so you could do your homework. Look, this is the United States of America, for God's sake. And this law is going to create millions of jobs, good paying jobs you can raise a family on. Union jobs, not paying $17 an hour. And the Build Back Better plan. People ask me why I'm so insistent on the elements of that plan. Here's the deal. I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about young people, whether they can get kids to daycare. Can they do that? You know, a lot of you are paying $14,000 a year for child care. The cost is crushing. Under our plan, the cost will be cut in half. I'm worried about families and elderly grandparents and what their lives are at stake. Everyone is a little harder. So, so grandmom can walk out without having, out of her porch without worrying about falling, can take care of herself, can be left alone. They're going to keep working to pay the bills. Look, my plan is simple. We're going to make sure we take care of mom. We're going to take care of the child. Those of you in the sandwich generation, you're dealing with both. You're dealing with both. Look, and families can save money. They have, just to have, as my dad used to say, just a little peace of mind. Just a little peace of mind. I'm worried about that mom whose daughter has diabetes and don't have insurance, and that insulin that costs $10 to make, and they're charging up to $1,000 a month. Guess what? Imagine being that parent, looking at a child who can't get the insulin they need, deprived of her health and your dignity. What do? That's outrageous. What the hell are we doing? We're going to make sure that's no more than $35 a month. And we just saw one of the most devastating tornadoes in this country. Our weather's getting more extreme, more destructive. Look at the lives being destroyed. I proposed a way to deal with this, and the biggest investment we've ever proposed in our country's history. I worry about the next town that's destroyed, the next family that loses a home, the next person who drowns in a once-in-a-century flood. These are the people I'm worried about. This is why we all got engaged. We can afford to do all this without raising taxes on a single penny and anyone making less than $400,000 a year. And experts acknowledge if we do this, we're going to reduce inflation, not increase it. Reduce inflation. In fact, I got unsolicited a letter from 17 Nobel laureates in economics who looked at our plan and said they see long-term inflation. It will save and serve against long-term inflationary pressures. The bottom line is we're helping working class and middle class people spend less money on the things they badly need. So if you're worried about rising costs, nothing will cut costs for American families more than the Build Back Better plan. That'll give them a shot. And folks, as my partner said, we have to focus on the single most sacred right we have, the right to vote. The right to vote. Today, the right to vote and the rule of law are under unrelenting assault from Republican governors, attorneys general, secretaries of state, state legislators. They're following my predecessor deep into the abyss. The struggle is no longer just who gets to vote or making it easy for eligible people to vote. It's about who gets to count the vote and whether your vote counts at all. It's a sinister combination of voter suppression and elective subversion. It's un-American, it's undemocratic, it's unpatriotic, and sadly, it is not unprecedented now. The Vice President has been leading our administration's effort, and we supported Democrats pressing to enact critical voting rights bills since day one of this administration, making sure we have unanimous support. Look, but each and every time Senate Republicans have blocked the way. They're afraid even just to debate the bills in the United States Senate, even in a bill that includes provisions that have traditionally been supported by Republicans. This battle's not over. This door's not closed. We have to keep up the fight and get it done because our democracy depends on it. And folks, there's so much more to do. Police reform, criminal justice reform, immigration, gun violence, the courts, protecting a woman's right to choose, all these critical issues. And as we fight to make progress on all of them, I hope you remember what got us to the White House in the first place. In 2020, we won as a unified Democratic Party, more unified than ever. Now we look at 2022. I want to tell my Republican friends, get ready, pal. You're going in for a problem. And we need to stay unified. Jamie Harrison is here, and he's doing an outstanding job as the DNC chair. And I also want to thank the DNC vice chairs and the leadership as well. The DNC has been a critical partner in all of our work this year. As Democrats, we know what we're for, while Republicans don't seem to be for anything. Name me something they are for. They're against everything I just mentioned that would reduce the cost for American families. We have to keep making the case, and if we do, I believe we're going to win. Let me say this again for the president. We're going to win in 2022. I really mean it. But we've got to explain to the American people what's in each of these pieces of legislation, what have we done for them. That's where the DNC comes in. That's for all of you who support the DNC. For all of you who give them the wherewithal to go out and make the case, the advertisements, and all the things we're doing. We have to let people know what we've done. So let me close where I began by thanking you. You were with us when we were behind, when we were ahead, and every moment in between. It's been an incredible journey. But it's not about Jill and I or Kamala and it's not about us. It's about America and the immense possibilities within our reach as a nation. I've now met with almost every major world leader, many of whom I knew in advance. I say this for everybody to listen. I don't know a single solitary world leader who wouldn't trade the problems the President of the United States has for their problems. I don't know a single one. Not one. And folks, that's why, as difficult a work is, I can honestly say I've never been more optimistic about America's future. There's not a single thing we're unable to do when we do it together as the United States of America. That's who we are. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, God bless you all, and let's go get them and win in 2022. Thank you. I just said to Jill, you guys should have walked up to the stage. You were so scintillating. Yeah, can you? What do you think? Yeah? All right, anyway, maybe I get a chance to hang around a little bit. Thank you all so very much. Thank you.